I've a castle rising in Spain, nor a dance to a constantly surprising refrain. Wide awake, I can make my most fantastic dreams come true. My romance doesn't need a thing but you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this morning's budget meeting. It's the second of our public meetings on the budget. This is a hybrid meeting that is in person and virtual. In years past, we had fully virtual. Now we're trying to get back to in person, but we certainly welcome public comment online today as well. We're going to start with an introduction from the Budget Office, but today's meeting will be chaired by the chair of our Finance, Governance, and Public Safety Committee, Councilwoman Andrea Boo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on this Saturday morning. I just want to give a brief introduction because Krista Morrison is going to give a more detailed, but I want to say this is a very important part of our budget process. But it really begins in the fall, or it's a part of a cyclical process that begins in the fall with our citywide business plan. And I just want to encourage all of you to be part of that process year-round because our budget is based upon our citywide business plan. And if you want to inform that process, this budget process, please start with the citywide business plan public hearings as well, because in those we outline our goals, our objectives, our mission statement, and our values. And that informs our mayor and city manager and finance department as they prepare the draft that was presented to us on February 8th. And we, as a council, are now in the process of reviewing that draft and getting feedback from our departments, from the public, and from each other, and how we want to make any changes necessary to fulfill the citywide business plan. So I thank you all for being here and being a part of this very important process. And I think before we turn it over to Krista Morrison, we'll just go around and give a brief introduction of council members that are here. And then at the end of our meeting, we will allow them to give a few comments. So let's start with our esteemed colleague from the 1st District.
That had to hurt. Kevin O'Neill, 1st District at large.
Wes Rogers, 2nd District, and my sidekick, Ken Rogers.
Melissa Patterson Hasley, 3rd District at large.
Crispin Rea, 4th at large.
Daryl Curls, 5th District at large.
Good morning, everybody. Raina Parkshaw, Mayor Pro Tem, 5th in District.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see everybody here today. Jonathan Duncan, 6th District.
I don't know if I said who I was. Andrea Boo, 6th District at large and chair of the Finance Committee. And I'm going to turn it over to our city manager, Brian Platt, to say a few words before we turn it over to our budget officer.
Thank you, Brian Platt, city manager. Just want to say thanks to our finance team, Krista, Tammy, and the entire group that's here. They work tirelessly all year round to make sure we have the best budget that we can deliver to the people of the city. At the end of the day, this document is a moral document. It reflects the values of the people of the city, and we hope that what you're seeing in there is moving in that direction. We appreciate everyone's feedback and commentary to make sure that we're doing all the things that the people of the city need. So thank you very much.
Great. Krista?
All right, well, good morning, Krista Morrison, Budget Officer. And I would like to reiterate what you said and thank everyone for coming out on this Saturday morning. Budget is one of the most important policy documents that this City Council will consider each year. The budget should reflect the priorities of Kansas City residents, and that's why residents' attendance is so very important today. And I'd also like to thank this mayor and city council for your time and dedication to this process every year and your commitment to the public engagement and really listening to what residents have to say. They're very difficult decisions that have to be made each and every budget year. So Kansas City's budget is available online at www.kcmo.gov/budget. There are a couple sections for anyone looking at Kansas City's budget that I would suggest or point you to if you want to see a broad overview of Kansas City's budget and highlights of the priorities this budget is supporting. The transmittal letter as well as budget overview. Those sections are just broad highlights for anyone that just wants a snapshot of this budget. The budget does go into more detail in different sections of the budget, breaking out at the department and program level as well. Kansas City's submitted budget for fiscal year 2025 is a $2.3 billion budget. The budget is broken down in two categories. One is governmental activities funds, That is the general fund, special revenue funds, debt funds, and capital funds representing $1.5 billion of Kansas City's budget. The increase from our current year budget for governmental activities is 13.3% or $176.2 million. Business type activity is the second category Kansas City's budget is broken down in. That is the water and aviation departments. That represents $768.7 million, and that is a 4.9% increase from the current budget, or $35.7 million. So to provide a broad overview of Kansas City's budget, and we'll talk about some highlights of changes in the budget. First, I'd like to talk about the structure of Kansas City's fund types. So the first category is business type activities, and that is in red here. That represents around a third of Kansas City's budget. That is our water and aviation departments. Those are fee-supported departments, and those fees can only be used to support those business operations. The other third in light blue of Kansas City's budget is a category we call special revenue. And these are restricted in use by what voters or the statute authorizing it really says what that money can be used for. An example of that is the Park Sales Tax Fund. Voters approved a special sales tax that can only be used to support the Parks Department and its operations. The other third of Kansas City's budget is the general fund. And the general fund is considered the most flexible of resources related to restrictions, but it also supports some of the largest programs supporting our city's trash, recycling, neighborhoods, and public safety departments. Councilwoman Boo mentioned the citywide business plan. This next slide breaks out how Kansas City's budget is broken out by goals included in the citywide business plan. The largest area of funding in Kansas City's budget is in the area of infrastructure and accessibility, representing 47.3% of Kansas City's budget. Of that, 33.8% is our water and aviation department. Our next largest category is in the area of public safety. That's the police department, fire department, and municipal court, representing 26.9% of Kansas City's overall budget. You'll see here other categories such as housing and healthy communities at 13.3%, finance and governance at 7.1%, and inclusive growth and development at 5.5%. This next slide represents in dollars the change in each of those council goals. I think notable in this slide is the major increase in each of the council goals, but particularly in the area of housing and healthy communities. That council goal, the budget is increasing 19.8%, or $49.9 million, and we'll talk ahead about the highlights of those increases. This next slide represents how Kansas City's budget is spent at the department level. So I won't go through each of these, but you can see here our largest category or department is the police department at $317.3 million, followed by the fire department at $275.8 million, and public works at $204.8 million. But this breaks out each and every department by council goal in the citywide business plan. So we'll talk a little bit more about general fund because given the restrictions of all the other funds for the city, anytime new programs are considered by the city council, oftentimes we are looking at the general fund because it is the least restrictive by what voters have approved the source of revenue for. I'll start by talking about the source of funding in Kansas City's general fund. And the major source of revenue here is the earnings tax at 45%. And that is supporting some of the most major programs in the city that we'll talk about ahead. That is followed by local use tax at 12%, property taxes at 11%, and utility taxes at 13%. So how the general fund is broken down by goal is 73.3% of Kansas City's general fund supports public safety. That is the fire department, the police department, and the municipal court. The next category is the finance and governance in the general fund at 13.4%, followed by housing and healthy communities at 12.4%. The general fund in the budget submitted has a structural imbalance, and that is what this slide represents, and that is something that this city council will be working on in the years ahead. We are sitting in a very positive position, much in part due to strong revenues and a strong economy, as well as federal support out of the COVID pandemic. But this budget presents for the general fund revenue growth of 9.3%, remarkable revenue growth, but our expenditures with inflation are growing at a higher rate of 13.8%. So what that means in our submitted budget currently is this submitted budget has a structural imbalance of around $50 million that this budget proposes, that in the general fund expenditures are greater than revenue. We are in a position that the general fund can support that this year because of our fund balance. Kansas City has a 3-month fund balance target in policy. We are sitting above that 3-month target, but the concern is that with a structural imbalance, we are bringing that down, and by fiscal year 2027, we are anticipating Kansas City will be below our emergency reserve. That emergency reserve, just like anyone's home checking account, is so important, and we saw that during COVID. Because the first year COVID happened, we would have drawn down most of this fund balance absent of federal relief. So this is something this council will be working towards ahead and considering with each policy decision as we are in a position with expenditures exceeding revenue. These next slides, I just want to highlight a few significant changes from our current year budget, starting with the area of most growth in funding that this city council is considering, and that's the area of housing and healthy communities. This budget adds $1.5 million for emergency shelter for the unhoused. This budget provides an additional $800,000 to fund the current demand for the Right to Counsel program for total funding of $2.4 million. The Right to Counsel is a program that provides free legal assistance and support to individuals and families facing eviction. This program, since starting in 2022, has supported 2,298 Kansas City family and residents facing eviction. This budget prioritizes $6 million annually in year 2 of 5, dedicated to violence intervention and prevention. This budget appropriates $12.5 million in year 2 of 4 for a total investment of $50 million in the Housing Trust Fund from GEO Bond Authority for affordable housing initiatives at no additional cost to residents. Also in the area of housing and healthy communities, this budget adds $1.5 million for dangerous building demolition, $400,000 for neighborhood empowerment grants, $2 million in the area of investing in the tree canopy of Kansas City, and also $8.1 million for funding a cleaner Kansas City. That $8.1 million is broken out by increases of expanded bulky item program. It funds the recycling cart program that was initiated in the current year. It implements trash carts citywide and adds $250,000 on top of our existing funding for enhanced litter cleanup. In the area of public safety, This budget provides increases in both for wages so that our fire department and police department can remain competitive in the region, to hire top quality public safety professionals. It creates in the police department a hiring incentive program to recruit and retain positions that the department is finding difficult to hire. It also provides solutions to address emergency call wait times. I won't read through each of these, but just hitting a few highlights. I know we have a lot of people here for public testimony. In the area of infrastructure and accessibility, there's an additional funding of $4 million for Vision Zero improvements. Vision Zero is a program designed to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on Kansas City streets by 2030. It expands street sweeping for a cleaner Kansas City by adding 2 new street sweepers, and continues enhanced snow removal that was started in 2022. This budget also includes year 4 of 5 of increased investment of street preservation from voter-approved GEO bonds. In the area of inclusive growth and development, this budget invests Kansas City as a destination. It adds $5 million for World Cup preparations and $2.3 million to Visit KC to their existing funding. They are the economic development organization that promotes tourism for Kansas City. This budget also invests in small businesses with a continued investment of $500,000 for small business and a new budget for $200,000 for restaurant incentives. In the category of finance and governance, this budget continues investment in the areas of equity and improving access of all city services by appropriating $375,000 for language access initiatives, as well as adding $1 million of new funding for a refugee and immigrant services program. This budget dedicates $210,000 for the Reparations Committee. This budget also invests in city employees by fully funding its actuarial required contributions to the employee retirement system, as well as providing increases for all employees for compensation. So that is just a broad overview where we are at in Kansas City's budget process. The budget was submitted on February the 8th. This city council will consider and adopt Kansas City's budget on March the 28th. And we are in a series of public hearings as well as department hearings right now. So I do thank everyone that came out today to provide testimony in the budget process. There is one more opportunity for public engagement in person. That's Monday, March the 4th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at Northland Neighborhoods. And then I will also add, you can email omb@kcmo.org if you cannot attend any of these meetings and wish to provide feedback. So with that, I will hand this back over to our finance chair.
All right, and thank you, Krista. I also want to acknowledge that we have a number of department directors and staff members in the audience today. So if you will just raise your hand or stand up, or if you don't want to be recognized, then just, if you're still, all right, thank you so much. So I have a number of cards. If you wish to testify and have not filled out a card, please see those that are sitting at the desk, so we can gauge how many we have that are willing to wanting to testify. I also recognize a few names from last week. I certainly want to give you an opportunity to testify, but if you will be recognize that others are here to testify as well, and keep your comments as concise as possible, but certainly want to give you an opportunity to testify. I'm going to call names in batches of 3, so if you will line up in those in the order that I call your name, so that we can keep this moving as swiftly as possible. And I want to apologize in advance if I mispronounce your name. My name is Boo, and it's spelled B-O-U-G-H, and I get that a lot, and I try to do the best I can, but bear with me this morning. Okay, so we will start with the first three names.
And can I ask just one favor? And I appreciate the advocacy with signs. Just try to make sure that people behind you can see. That's the one thing that we have. So try to make sure we see it, but there are some behind you. That's
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first three are Kylie Ford, Kashmir Ketterman, and Charles De Leon. And you have 2 minutes, and we can see all the signs. I assume that you all can too. And Howard will sound when your time is up.
Okay. Let me know when I'm ready.
Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, Council. My name is Kaylee Ford. I am a resident of the 1st District and a leader with Sunrise Movement KC. I am here to demand that City Council invest an additional $42 million into our bus system to fully fund the service and to take responsibility and audit the KCATA and stop pointing fingers at others for the failures of an underfunded system. As a resident of the Northland, public transit is very important to me and my neighbors. I have no other choice but to drive, and if I had access to expanded routes that ran on time, it would give me more options than a car. I don't talk much about how being car burdened gives me anxiety, but it is important to share that being car burdened affects people mentally just as much as it does economically. I just had to drop $200 on a car repair this week and will have to spend even more money to fix the continued problems. Not to mention that cars are one of the top emitters of greenhouse gases, a main cause of the climate crisis. So not only are we burdened by car-centric infrastructure, but we also have to deal with more heat waves, more extreme weather events that harm our communities and we are not prepared for. To add to the situation we're in, this council claims to not trust the KCATA and is not being specific about why. If you are so concerned about the KCATA, you have the power to audit them and hold them accountable and stop pointing fingers while taking no responsibility yourselves. No one in Kansas City should be burdened by cars financially or mentally, or will be worried that they have no other choice. So again, I demand that City Council fully fund our bus system with an additional $42 million and take responsibility and audit the KCATA to ensure better buses for all and a safe and healthy KC for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Kashmir Ketterman here? He will be right back. I'm so sorry. Okay, Charles De Leon?
All right. Good morning, Council. My name is Charles De Leon. I am a resident of South Kansas City. I am here today to call on the Kansas City, Missouri City Council to invest $42 million additional dollars into our bus system to fully fund the bus service, zero fare, and expand frequent bus lines into our city. Why does public transit matter? It matters because of community health, freedom of movement, and personal mental health of the bus riders, but also for the public at large. This matters because having better public transit means that residents can get to their jobs sooner, they can get home sooner, they can get to their family sooner, they can spend time with their loved ones, with their friends, they can go out and socialize more often. It sucks being stuck at home when you have no transportation. It sucks having to put in 60, 80-hour work weeks because you need to save for a used car that's probably gonna need to be repaired in a month or two anyways. That is detrimental to the community's health right then in itself. What's at stake for the future is that the future of the city is at stake. It's personal health. The health of the city overall is going to be deeply impacted if we don't keep public transit fully funded. I want to recall that at the first community meeting, the presenter had prepared Kansas Cityans by saying that there was an structural imbalance in the budget that needs to be adhered to, and they were telling Kansas Cityans to prepare to make tough decisions. I have to ask, why are those tough decisions never given to KCPD? Why do they always consistently get raises by the millions? We're already top 5 in region spenders for police. We're top 10 in giving them increases. But also, why are those tough decisions never held by you all? It always has to be the poorest of Kansas City that need to hold on to that. So more public transit. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next three are Maureen Ansari. Oh, wait, sorry, that was number 6. We'll go in the right order. Raymond Forstarter, Jameson Goen, and Maureen Ansari. Raymond?
And if the other two could go ahead and line up so we'll move faster,
Yes,
make sure everybody gets an opportunity to testify.
We also have
Jameson and Maureen, please
So
line up.
line up in the middle if she's called you, is the request.
And we also have Kashmir Kedman, that's
Okay,
here
we'll
from the
come
last
back.
round as well.
So Jameson and Maureen, please line up. Go ahead.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Raymond Forstatter. I currently live in the 6th District, and I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement KC. I'm also a bus rider who predominantly relies on the 39, the 47, the Troost Max, and the Main Max. I'm calling on City Council today to pass a budget amendment that fully funds the cost of our service for our buses and expands frequency improvements. I know that some council members here have raised concerns regarding KCATA's transparency and understanding of where our money is actually going. But the reality is you have the authority in the service agreement between the City of Kansas City and KCATA to perform an audit and get answers to those questions that you have. What is stopping you from doing that while still ensuring that we don't see cuts to our bus system? Regardless of whether you trust the KCATA, failing to ensure our buses are fully funded will have serious negative impacts on people all over the city. Lack of transparency is an issue across many government institutions, and that isn't an excuse to cut essential services. You need to find better solutions than punishing bus drivers because you won't be proactive in addressing your own concerns regarding transit funding. Even if they are the service provider, you hold the responsibility as our elected leaders to enact the will of the people. And the truth is the people want better buses. We talk to people all over the city, and the reality is they want to see improvements and funding to our bus system. And you'll hear more on that from more of our leaders. But the reality is that this proposed budget tells me that our city government has no intention of changing the status quo for buses in our city. Meanwhile, this week, you'll have an ordinance introduced for a $4 million TIF for a roundabout, for a parking garage. Is this really how we want to be spending our money? I pray that you all find the moral clarity to recognize that this is what the people of KC truly need. I also want to uplift the work of other folks that are going to be here speaking. We have REACH program proposals from folks like Decarcerate KC. We have Vision Zero improvements that are coming. These are all great investments, but the reality is when we aren't funding these most basic services like buses, it impacts everyone within our city.
Thank you. Kashmir, if you will line up behind Maureen, we'll take you after her. Go ahead.
Hi, Council. My name is Jameson Gowen. I'm an economics student at UMKC, and I'm here to ask for an extra $42 million to fully fund and deliver better routes for our buses. If you really want to stimulate economic growth and you want to get people jobs and get them off the streets, get them in houses, give them an opportunity to get there. Give them an opportunity to get on the bus and make it to whatever job they need to go, regardless of which part of the city they're in. I came to Kansas City with a car. I used it for a long time. It broke down multiple times. I've currently got a spare that I have to get replaced before I can go anywhere with it. I can't get anywhere between classes without my car. If I have 30 minutes, that's not enough time to get to the bus. That's hardly enough time to wait for a bus in many parts of the city. Not only would this help people with getting jobs and getting access to food, medicine, healthcare, housing, this would help the environment significantly. We all know that cities and cars are huge polluters, and if you could lower that number by just a hair, who knows how much that could help us. So I ask you, if you don't want to fund buses, at least audit them. Find out really where your issues lie with them before you decide to give them no more money. Find out how you can help us and listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mehreen. I'm a lifelong Kansas Cityan, and I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement KC. So right now, Texas is experiencing historic wildfires. It's over 1 million acres of land being burned. Last summer was the hottest summer on record, and it will be the coldest summer going forward. At the same time, planet-heating gases from cars are KC's #1 contributor to the climate crisis. And buses are a lifeline for Kansas Cityans, allowing us to access work, school, doctor's appointments, and grocery stores. When you consider these two facts, fighting for an improved bus system that benefits all Kansas Cityans, it makes sense. It makes enough sense that over 1,000 Kansas Cityans have signed the Better Buses petition. We actually brought the over 1,000 signatures that Kansas Cityans have given the Better Buses for KC campaign with us today. Investing in our buses is investing in our futures, whether that is the future of our planet or the health of Kansas Cityans, especially poor communities of color like the one I grew up in this city. Kansas Cityans need you to be brave for us, fight for us, fight for our buses. We want better buses, not service cuts.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kashmir. I live in the 5th District and I'm a leader with Sunrise Movement Kansas City. I'm here to call on the council to allocate an additional $42 million to fully fund our bus system and enhance the frequency and reliability of existing routes. As a car-burdened student and worker, it is becoming increasingly difficult and expensive to sustain myself, with car ownership being the second largest expense after housing. To me, an investment in our bus system is an investment in our communities. With the countless fees and payments that come with car ownership, a fully funded, frequent, and reliable bus system could help provide economic freedom for so many poor, working-class families and young people like me. Also, not to mention the benefits that these investments would have on the condition of our roads and the environment. The hesitancy of this council when it comes to bus funding has now turned to complacency. The excuse of lack of transparency from KCATA doesn't cut it. I demand that the council audit the KCATA and stop the excuses. You all have no plan to fund the difference, so I implore you, please listen to the thousands of bus riders who want better buses and not service cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. I will call the next three, Bishop Caldwell, Bobby Proctor, and Russell Gray. You'll please come and line up. And I'll also acknowledge we did receive the copy of the petition. I think Mayor Pro Tem asked for that, and we've provided it to the clerk to make part of the record. So Bishop Caldwell, Bobby Proctor, and Russell Gray, please line up. Go ahead.
Good morning, Council, and thank you for having us here today. Appreciate that. One of our main concerns right now with the budget, as we looked over it, was the decrease, or should I say not a large increase, in community resources. If we're going to battle crime and things of that nature, community resources are mainly needed to be able to help those that can't help themselves. Small businesses are suffering at the moment because we see that the large businesses get the tax credits, but the area that gives money to the small business and resources to those, if we want to draw a better economic base back to Kansas City, we need to invest more in those small businesses. Along with our mental health, if we're going to cut crime, a lot of the issues that we have are with our mental ill, and since we've cut across the board so much, how can we do anything with that? They can't help themselves. We need to find a way to be able to help our mental health, and then we can see that our tax dollars are being used in a better place, and that health and that crime area will drop. Right now, there are very few areas that our mentally ill can go to. So we're asking that you increase the budget in those areas. Less tax credits and cuts for major businesses. Because what we've seen over the years, I am a lifelong resident of Kansas City. What we've seen over the years is once a major business comes in, they get all their tax cuts. As soon as that's over with, they leave, and leaving us with the bill. We've seen that too many times here in Kansas City. That needs to change. So the major cuts to the large businesses coming in and our utility companies, getting the cuts that they have and the increases that they have for the common man and woman is outrageous. They cannot afford that. So these are areas that we're asking that you address in our budget. Thank you, and I'm out.
Thank you.
God bless.
Bobby Proctor?
Good morning, I'm Bobby Proctor, and I'm here because I live in 5th District. We need a lot of things out there. We need street cleanups. We need money set aside probably for more code officers, that when we call, it doesn't take months to get something done out there with codes. So I would like to see code officers. We need more of them to get things done. We have buildings that's broke down and they're still standing. So we need money to get those done and have codes to come out and check those buildings and see what's going on. So I just think we need a little bit more code officers in 5th District. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Russell Gray. I'm a member of Sunrise Movement Kansas City and of KC Tenants and a resident of the 4th District. I'm here today urging City Council to fully fund our bus service by adding $42 million for buses in the 2024 budget. Personally, I'm lucky enough to be able to rely on my bike for most of my transportation needs, but buses are a lifeline for me. I depend on the bus when it's too cold to bike, or when the places I need to go are too far away, or when my bike needs repairs. And I know there are thousands of people in KC for whom buses are more than a lifeline. They are a foundation for their ability to live and thrive in this city. City Council must allocate an additional $26 million to KCATA to cover the lost revenue from expiring COVID relief funds. Otherwise, our buses could face critical service cuts, severely harming the most vulnerable people in KC. I also urge City Council to allocate an additional $16 million to increase frequency along 7 critical bus routes. There's huge economic benefits to doing so, and there's also huge benefits for the environment by reducing pollution and reducing planet heating emissions. For the past year, global temperatures have stayed above 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial times, which breaks a critical temperature threshold that climate scientists warned us should not be crossed. And yet business as usual continues, and global emissions continue to go up. I believe every human on Earth has a moral obligation to do everything in their power to reduce our society's emissions and mitigate the worst impacts of climate breakdown, especially for us in the United States, given our huge contribution to global emissions. In the Climate Protection and Resiliency Plan, passed by this council in 2022, one of the short-term policies for 2023 to 2025 reads, improve reliability of existing transit and decrease wait times for public transit to make it comparable to driving a personal vehicle. It's 2024, it's time to put that climate plan into place. And when looking for where this money could come from, there's one obvious place, the bloated KCPD budget. KCMO must not allocate an additional dime above the state minimum. A city with more police isn't more safe. A city with fast, frequent, and reliable transit is. I urge this council to give KCPD the minimum possible funding and add $42 million in funding for our buses. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Barnett, Ryan Dickey, and Nash High. Mary Barnett, Ryan Dickey, and Nash High.
Good morning, my name is Mary Barnett. I'm with the Hickman Mills United Neighborhoods.
Would you pull it down?
I'm with the Hickman Mills United Neighborhoods. And for many years, our part of the city have been neglected due to the blight and due to unenforced codes. So we're also struggling because of the Cerner/Oracle big TIF, the biggest TIF in the state of Missouri, that has not helped our area but has harmed our school district. So they're not paying taxes, and we do, and we're not getting service. So I'm here today to ask you to please consider the citizens of Kansas City and not the business owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Dickey. I'm a resident of the 4th District and a leader with Sunrise Movement Kansas City. I'm here to testify for vision of public health and safety through programs that meaningfully demonstrate that this council cares for each life in the city, lives that you are all here to represent. To start, I want to thank council for work already done. I support funding the REACH pre-arrest diversion program, continued funding and commitment to Vision Zero, and funding the city's brand new language access program. These programs would not be a reality without the work of the good people in Decarcerate KC, Bike Walk KC, KC Tenants, and advocates for immigrant rights and reconciliation. However, when I look at the city's services over the next year, there's a glaring gap in our bus system's funding. As much of 28% of the KCATA's general revenue is not accounted for as federal funding expires, and bus riders are left in the lurch. Already, bus riders in KC wait at stops on the daily with no benches to unsure when or whether their bus is going to show up on time, or if they're going to lose another hour of their day. I myself have waited at 39th and Broadway in 6-degree weather as multiple buses in a row never showed. We desperately need improvements to frequency and reliability of our buses, and leaving this funding gap unaddressed would be a huge step backwards we cannot afford to risk. Thousands in our city rely on our buses to get to work or to access health care, and loss of access means loss of health. And I can honestly feel for this council because your predecessors here and on the county council and on KCATA's board all had 4 years to find permanent funding and did not. As Sunrise KC has dug into why this is the case, we found a circle of finger pointing and blame that leaves people relying on this essential service behind. This cannot continue. Across the city, the state of our bus system is recognized as a problem needing a solution. This is a problem that cannot be fixed if funding isn't even maintained. At bare minimum, I am demanding this council be regional leaders in finding permanent funding. Ideally, this means funding our buses today to fill the 26 million gap and expand service across the city's highest demand routes. If you as a council member feel you cannot do this, then I urge you to do right by us and cut through the blame game, audit KCATA, and get this ball rolling. We've waited far too long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Nash. I'm a resident of the 3rd District, and I'm here today with Sunrise Movement, asking you to allocate $42 million in additional bus funding. I've been a bus rider here in Kansas City for 8 years, and for most of that time I have not owned a car, so I've been dependent on our buses and on my bike to get everywhere I need to go. And I just wanted to share some parts of my story. I used to live over by Blue Ridge Crossing, and I would take the 28 bus into downtown every day to go to work. But a couple years ago, KCATA reallocated their resources, and my bus route actually got cut. So I found myself in a place where I was choosing between, do I want to keep my job or do I want to keep my house? And I ended up having to move. It was not great. And the thought of looming service cuts is pretty alarming to me because I don't want to go through that again, and I don't want anybody else to have to either. So we need to fully fund our buses, and we also need to improve bus frequency. The bus I currently take to work, it only comes once an hour. And what that means for my commute is the days that I ride the bus, I have to leave the house 15 minutes earlier than the days that I ride my bike. It's a 5-mile bike ride, and it's still a 15-minute shorter commute on bike than on bus. And that's not because the bus is slow, it's because the bus doesn't come enough. So yeah, I hope you'll listen to us with Sunrise Movement today. Start by investing in the buses that we already have and getting them fully funded, and then also invest in the buses that we really need. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next three are Lucas Sander, Adam Rossi, and Michaela Meckel.
Hello, my name is Lucas Sander. I'm a bus rider from North Hyde Park in District 4, and I take the Truce Max and sometimes the 85 to get to my job at a law office downtown. I moved to Kansas City from small town Iowa, wanting, as I'm sure many of you did or do, to live in a world-class city. Bus options are one of the reasons I moved into the city proper from the suburbs. And I'm not the only one who thinks public transit is pretty great. Not a lot of people I know list traffic and parking experiences as their favorite part of city life. As just one example, I'm a Kansas City Current fan, and you may have heard the news that there will be minimal parking available at the stadium for a maximal fee. And I would love if I could point fellow fans to public transit options that could fill in the gap, but there sadly aren't really any. It is over a mile walk to the stadium from the River Market, which is the closest that just about any public transit gets, except for one hourly bus that stops running well before the games even get out. This mile-long trek would be annoying to me, but hard to impossible for parents of small kids or people with disabilities. Now, we pride ourselves on being a sports town, but we seriously lack the public transit options that fans in other cities get to go to games. If we want to be a world-class city, we need to invest in our bus system, both for working-class people that use it and need it every day, and for people that just want to ride home from a game or a concert or any other night out. So I'm calling on City Council to fully fund our bus service and add the $42 million to the current proposal that we need to avoid cuts to current service and to expand service to the most frequently used bus lines, and maybe even create enough flexibility to add service for game days and things like that. I also call on City Council to stop using their skepticism of KCHEA as an excuse. If you're worried about where the money is going, then audit them. Don't let them be the reason that your constituents don't get the service they deserve. I also want to express my support for funding community-based safety solutions like REACH, other than incarceration programming, and for fully funding Vision Zero efforts to work towards a day when there are 0 traffic deaths in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Adam Rossi. I'm a resident of the 3rd District. I'm a bus rider and I'm involved with Sunrise KC. And I'm here to call on City Council to invest $42 million additional dollars into our bus service. We've invested in personal automobile and associated infrastructure exclusively for over a century, not because the majority of people in Kansas City or in the United States wanted that to happen, but because a few people with a lot of power and privilege saw an opportunity to make a huge profit for themselves. They successfully lobbied governments to exclusively fund individual automobile transit and defund public transit. They were so successful, in fact, that many of us now don't even question the personal car as the best way to get around. I'm here to tell you that it's actually the worst way to get around. They're expensive and they're a privilege that many can't afford. They pollute like nobody's business and are a major contributor to bad air quality and the climate emergency. They're dangerous and claim too many lives every year, and they offer no opportunity to interact with our fellow human beings, leading to a more closed-off, isolated, and individualistic society. In all these areas where cars fail, public transit wins. Public transit is safer, it's more equitable, it's more environmentally conscious, it's more socially sustainable, it's just better. But it's only better if we fund it. Kansas City's public transit leaves a lot to be desired, while the city is a paradise for the individual automobile. The difference is investment. It's time to invest in public transit. I call on City Council to invest $42 million additional dollars into our bus system to fully fund bus service, zero fare, and expand bus service in our city. We want better public transit, not service cuts. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michaela?
Good morning, Council. My name is Michaela Meckel, and I'm a resident of Kansas City residing in the 6th District. I'm here this morning to urge you to pass and fully fund an alternative community response and pre-arrest diversion program within Kansas City's Health Department. We have an extraordinary opportunity to reshape our approach to criminal justice in Kansas City. By investing in a pre-arrest diversion program, we can redirect resources towards proactively addressing the underlying issues that lead to criminal justice involvement. This not only promotes individual well-being, but also strengthens our entire community. The proposed Kansas City pre-arrest diversion program is partially modeled off the PAD program in Atlanta. I'd like to share with you a statement that I found to be very compelling from Judge Clinton DeVoe, a retired Atlanta judge and board chair of the PAD program, that beautifully summed up the rationale behind a program like PAD, the REACH program that we're looking for here in Kansas City. During 30 years on the municipal court, it became clear to me that many defendants were brought before me because of their poverty, their homelessness, their mental health status, or their addiction. Their arrests were less about crime than about their circumstances. These are issues that belong in the health and social justice systems of our communities rather than the criminal justice system. PAD gave me the opportunity to advocate for more humane responses to these concerns. By prioritizing community well-being, we can build a safer and more equitable Kansas City for all residents. I urge you to seize this opportunity to lead with compassion by fully funding an alternative community response and pre-arrest diversion program within Kansas City's Health Department. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Tiffany Moore, LaTanya Drafin, and Ben Robinson. Tiffany Moore, LaTanya Drafin, and Ben Robinson.
Good morning, council and staff. My name is Tiffany Moore. I'm a resident of the 6th District, and I'm speaking this morning on behalf of the Kansas City Neighborhood Advisory Council. We are continuing to work with you on many topics. This morning, I just wanted to make a few brief comments. We're really supportive of some of the increases, but also some of the continued funding for neighborhoods and housing services. That's something that KCNAC works on all the time, and so we're appreciative of the budget as it's presented in those regards. I wanted to go on and say that it's abundantly clear that the folks who have chosen to spend their Saturday mornings talking about and advocating for budget items, that this is centered around quality of life. KCNAC's charge, our responsibility, is to represent neighborhoods as it relates to quality of life in every aspect of the city's operations. We continue to partner with council and staff on the development of public policy and hope to always increase the quality of those public policies and making sure that the community voice is heard. I think it's really important that we think about the implementation of the budget as well. So quality of life is what all of these folks are here talking about, and that ranges obviously across the board in every aspect of the budget that's being presented. But there are a number of things that you all take up throughout the year that are not specific to the budget, but are related to other public policy development, as well as support and approval of other actions, both public and private. Keeping these quality of life topics top of mind as you consider all of the other decisions that you all will make throughout the coming year, I think is equally important as we implement what's being developed and supported in the budget itself in terms of identifying and prioritizing how our money is spent, but also how we guide the rest of the economic activity that happens in the city throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is LaTonya. I'm a resident of KC in the 3rd District. I'm here today to ask you to allocate funding to pre-arrest diversion services, including a 311 community response program that would divert people to resources and care that actually help people. This program should be housed within the health department, as incarceration is a public health issue. I have a son and a grandson who are incarcerated, and I know that they don't get the help they need in jail or prison. My grandson has been through so much trauma, and what he needs is mental health care support that I know he's not getting while incarcerated. When we see boys like this struggling on the streets, we need someone else to call other than the police. Not everything requires a police response, and the situations my son and grandson were situations that could have been different if there was help before jail became the only option. What people need is a strong support system and community around them. I've watched my son and grandson struggle to grow up in a world that doesn't love them back, that treats them like a threat. It costs less to help people where they're at than it does to incarcerate them and make them disappear. As members of the council, you have the opportunity to create a system of responding with care and empathy. as an alternative to the endless cycle of incarceration that took my boys from me and that takes boys from their mothers, grandmothers, and communities every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Robinson. I'm a supporter of Sunrise Movement KC and Better Buses for KC. I'm a student of urban planning and design at UMKC, and I've lived in the metro all my life. I am here with Sunrise today to call on City Council to invest $42 million additional dollars into our bus system to fully fund bus service, zero fare, and expand frequent bus lines in our city, those being 5 additional routes with peak 15-minute frequency, the Main Max, Troost Max, Independence Avenue, 39th Street, and North Oak Trafficway, and 2 additional routes with peak 30-minute frequency, 63rd Street and 75th Street. I am not a bus rider, though I wish I was. Several times I have considered taking the bus to work, to school, to see friends and family, but I can rarely bring myself to do so, particularly when time is a factor. I want a bus system that myself and others can rely on. I want a livable future, and I know that public transit is a huge factor in reducing carbon emissions. I want a better KC. More public transit means fewer parking lots, more beautiful architecture and green space, and more opportunities for our local economy to grow. I am not naive. I understand that there is a significant cost to funding our buses, but the cost to the city, our lives, and our futures will be greater if we do not invest in this critical service now. Additionally, I understand the city's concerns about the KCATA's lack of transparency with funding, but the city has the power to audit them. Audit the KCATA. Don't let our city's recent growth and popularity stagnate. Fully fund our buses and expand frequency at an additional $42 million and audit the KCATA. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next 3 are Caitlin White, Avery Jones, and Erica Flores. Caitlin White, Avery Jones, Erica Flores.
All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I'm a Kansas City resident in the 6th District. I'm here today to ask you to allocate funding to pre-arrest diversion services, including a community response program housed in the health department that would help divert people to resources and care that address root causes. I've been working as a licensed social worker for over 11 years in child protective services, healthcare, and now early childhood education. I've witnessed and been part of our systems that fail individuals and families and cause harm repeatedly, as well as witness law enforcement negatively escalate situations when people are at their most vulnerable and painful moments. I became more disillusioned with time, hearing endless stories of how arrests and incarceration have caused further damage in people's lives. Seeing kids watch their parents get arrested, talking to inmates who are shackled to their hospital bed, and turning unhoused patients back to the streets after being brought to the ER by police, I didn't know if I could handle any more pain and was tempted to let my social work license go. But I found Decarcerate KC working to make our dreams of a healthier community a reality, and here I am today. Our goal should be to work ourselves out of a job by empowering people to break often generational cycles. But we can't because we're tied up in the same punitive systems that are rooted in racism and continue to perpetuate the violence and trauma. We know that for a person to be a healthy and safe member of a community, they need a strong foundation of safety, support, and security. Mental health, houselessness, and addiction are not criminal matters and should not be met with police intervention. The vast majority of my interactions with people have ended calmly and safely, in part due to my empathetic approach and calm demeanor. My point being, police presence isn't necessary when working with a person in need. The diversion program should not involve corrections and needs to be housed in the health department to make it an approachable resource people feel they can trust. People labeled criminals are actually just people who want to be safe, healthy, and take care of themselves and the ones they love, just like we all do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Avery and I live in the 4th District. If I'm investing in anything, I want to invest in growth, healing, and my community's basic needs. Instead, those are the very things grossly neglected by most American cities, Kansas City being absolutely no exception, yet at least. Instead, we have created a culture of punishment and stigma, of revolving doors of unmet needs that beget more unmet needs and more unmet needs. We have a culture where calls for help are answered with handcuffs and broken homes, systems that leave everyone involved, even the overburdened KCPD, worse off. Where does the help come in is my question. Where does the part where the city and its social services serve the city come in? The people have physical, mental, financial, and health needs that are not met, obviously. We chalk it up to a problem that, if it gets ugly, can be disappeared by another jail bed, or by an exclusive diversion program that still could involve a jail bed. For some people's problems, there's money available. There's sympathy and there's care devoid of a punitive tone. For so many others, there's a denial of the basic right of sympathy and immediate urge to respond with containment and violence. And that difference falls starkly along racial and class lines, where predominantly Black and poor people receive shunning, not care. Care they need in the first place, often because of centuries of mistreatment at the hands of city ordinances and city budgets, choices being made in this very room. This is where we can begin to repair that. This is our chance to put our money where our morals are, and also where the evidence and the logic indisputably lie. Fund care, and fund it far from the institutions that take freedom and choice from people and package it as a carceral sentence. People will not utilize the program if it has anything to do with a jail. We need to make this separate. Fund care.
Hello, my name's Erica. I'm a resident of the 4th District, and I'm a leader of Sunrise Movement KC. We are living in unprecedented times right now, with temperatures fluctuating between negatives and almost 70 degrees in the span of just a couple weeks between January and February this year, where inflation is so high and groceries and other basic items and necessities are hard to afford, where we're recovering from an ongoing pandemic that has left many of us with chronic health issues, where a mass shooting just happened weeks ago in our community and we're all still grappling with it. And it's not even to mention that we're all actively watching a genocide happen in Palestine, and it's unfolding in front of our very eyes. We're watching thousands of Palestinians be starved, be dehumanized, be murdered. And as a young person, it's an understatement to say that I'm anxious about the future. With all of this additional stress and weight that we are all living with in this city and around the world, I'm here to demand that this city council take their responsibility to serve the city and its people with intentionality. We need our bus system properly funded. We need access to affordable housing. We need language access, and we need alternatives to the status quo, such as the pre-arrest diversion program. Whether or not you trust the KCATA, it's bus riders who will pay the price for cuts to service. Public transit is a lifeline for bus riders, and it's a lifeline to mitigate the climate crisis, which, for the record, is not technical, it's not a futuristic problem. It's here now, and it disproportionately affects Black and brown people. I'd like to take a moment in my final time to just thank everyone in this room who's fighting for Black and brown and working class people, and I'd like to demand that this city council do the same.
Matthew Moore, Joyce McGuffa, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and Rodney Sampson.
Right.
My name is Matthew Moore, and I live in the 3rd District of Kansas City, Missouri. I'm here to advocate and demand comprehensive reform as we shift away from budgets of mass incarceration towards pre-arrest diversion services through the REACH initiative proposed by Decarcerate KC. Mass incarceration is America's answer for poverty and the mental health issues that often accompany poverty. Cages don't work to keep our families and communities safe. Incarceration doesn't address the root causes of civil disobedience. Incarceration only serves to increase the detrimental harm of psychological stress and financial hopelessness. Emotional distress, along with financial deficiencies enhanced by incarceral penalties, perpetuate a deadly cycle which takes a person deeper and deeper into a hole they can't get out of. This is a healthcare issue for our community and for individuals within these communities. It's unreasonable to think that the justice system or the corrections department is capable of implementing this type of radical reform and healing for our communities. Indeed, American justice has always targeted our indigenous and black and brown communities violently and disproportionately. I've both seen and intervened time and again when these officers are treating our black brothers and sisters in ways they've never treated me. I know victims of racist sentencing norms who, because of their skin color, are sentenced to triple the cage time as their white counterparts. The same cops who will ask me if I'm okay will brutalize a black man for having a mental health crisis on my street. We've seen it time and again. I'm not making this up. We need to reinvent the incarceral wheel. As members of the council, you have the opportunity to support a program founded on care and empathy as an alternative to the endless cycle of incarceration. Please support this REACH initiative. Thank you.
Just so we can keep things going, I would ask you to hold your applause or keep it silent just so we can go on to the next speaker. We have a lot more cards to get through, so just to keep things going, thank you. I understand we have some great testimony here today. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Joyce Magatha, and I am speaking on behalf of the Unified Neighborhood Leaders in Districts 3 and 5. We have been meeting for about 2 years, and we feel that we have made some progress. I am here to speak on the issue of funding for those neighborhoods. Last year, when I addressed the City Council, I said that next time I address you, which is this time, that I would be able to thank you, hopefully, for the things that you have done. I must say that I am able to thank you. I see that you have increased the Neighborhood Empowerment Program, a grant, to $400,000, and that is up from $260,000. You also funded about 26 neighborhoods last year. That was progress, and I do thank you for that, and I'm going to thank you for what you'll do this year in advance. At this time, we are asking that all neighborhoods are funded in the districts 3 and 5 and some of the peripheral neighborhoods, probably in 4 and some of the other districts. We're asking that all neighborhoods are funded and that those neighborhoods are funded according to an established criteria. An established criteria should be set so that those neighborhoods, anyone receiving funding, will also be held accountable. And I think this is a problem that we have probably, that persons and neighborhoods and groups who receive funding are not held accountable. We should be and will be responsible for that accountability. In short, my goodness, in short, we're asking that the neighborhoods are funded, that a criteria be established, and that also, if there are any talks concerning this issue, that the unified neighborhoods will be included and that the negotiations will take place, and nobody needs to speak for us. We can speak for ourselves, and let's take the politics out of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. My friends at Casey Tennis told me the finger snap. All right.
Members of the council, the mayor was here. My name is Rodney Sampson. I'm a member of the PMAC, KCNAC, and the Longfellow Community Association, as well as United Neighborhoods. I'm here with my brothers and sisters to ask for a budget line item for neighborhoods. It's not very hard. Just stick it in there. I'm also bringing solutions. Solution number one, either get rid of 353 or fix it. That vote belongs with people. The mayor's set aside for public housing needs to be written into that law. Every 353 project should be required to do it. If we go through violence, every gun should have a lock, whether it's stored or not. Put on the street, in a policeman's hand, it should have a lock that will stop most of this violence. Because you have to think about how much time you have on that lock. Thank you.
Thank you. The next three are Jay Gray, Jamie Jackson, and Lila Wheat. Jay Gray, Jamie Jackson, and Lila Wheat.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Jay Gray, and I am testifying in support of a pre-arrest diversion program because I want a safer and more effective emergency response option for myself and my neighbors. I currently live in the 4th District, but have historically lived in the 3rd District. Unfortunately, I have never lived anywhere in Kansas City without at least one neighbor in a cycle of domestic violence that affects the entire building. As a survivor and a trained social worker who has worked on the front lines in Jackson County, I know KCPD cannot provide the services needed to properly address the root cause of many complex community issues like domestic violence. Even worse, police response often compounds our trauma and puts us at further risk for unmet needs, untreated conditions, and further violence. And let's be real, this harm disproportionately affects marginalized members of our community, particularly Black Kansas Cityans. We need to reckon with how the carceral system has failed to treat our community's trauma, how the carceral system has failed to prevent the kind of desperation that comes from unmet basic needs. We need a safer alternative to call for qualified, specialized support in crisis. Support that can provide access to helpful forms of care and accountability, like treatment programs, food, housing, and employment. This kind of shift towards proactive intervention methods can lead to a change in the cycles of suffering in our beloved city. I leave you with one request today. Fund a pre-arrest diversion and alternative community response program within the Kansas City Health Department. This community has entrusted you with the power to create a safer future for us all, and I ask you to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie Jackson. Okay.
Hi there.
You can pull it down a little bit. There you go.
Hi there, my name is Jamie Jackson. I grew up in Kansas City and I now live in downtown Kansas City. And I also would like to say that for many years of my working life, I was a bus driver. So I come here to speak in favor of making zero fare permanent. And I would like to point out that when Urban League did their survey, that unsurprisingly, riders enthusiastically supported zero fare. More than 90% commented positively about how it had helped their lives. But I'd also want to point out that the same survey showed that the city's standing, the city politicians really standing in the community benefits, because riders pointed out that they think that zero fare, by funding zero fare, it will show that the city recognizes the East Side residents, people who sometimes complain that the city pays more attention to its wider and more affluent West Side. I also want to make a comparison with the library. I'm a big patron of the library. And, you know, the library, when COVID hit, they instituted some reductions in fees and fares. And they also have enthusiastically invited houseless people into the library. And I'm there all the time, so I know it doesn't cause any problems. Would anybody propose that we charge the houseless to use the library because they are taking advantages of these services? I don't think so, because, okay, so eliminating zero fare is not free. It's going to, the consultant that was hired admitted that it would cost quite a bit to reinstall. However, just for a small investment, we can join cities across the nation who recognize that buses are an infrastructure that's good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see Lila. Kival, Khalil, Anthony, and Dylan Piles. Kival, Khalil Anthony, and Dylan Piles.
Good morning, my name is Kiro. I'm a lifelong.
It said.
I tried to write it. I'm a lifelong resident of Kansas City MO, 4th and 5th districts. I've rode the bus on and off since I was about 17 years old. And since then, I've seen how all of these issues are very connected, and it all stems back to some sort of incompetency or lack of attention given to where this money goes. I'm speaking as a leader with Decarcerate KC. Firstly, for us to fully fund the REACH program, because as I've rode the bus, I have seen constantly this dynamic of overpressure bus drivers, overpressure security staff on the bus. And all of this weight goes down to the riders, to the people most impacted by all the bullshit that goes on. I've seen a girl get ran over by the bus. I've nearly not ran over by the bus. She got into a fatal car accident riding the bus because she exited from the front. We never got a sign that says do not exit from the front, exit from the back. The KCATA tries in every which way to save face instead of improve their organization. The same with the FOP and the KCPD, who has been ranked among the 5th worst in the nation, yet they receive 31% of our budget. It makes no sense. The REACH program would take pressure off of them, much needed pressure off of them for them to figure out what the fuck they doing. It would take pressure off the KCATA for them to actually pay their drivers to show up somewhere. I got hired there, the bus didn't come. I got there late and they said, well, you can't work here. All of these institutions have an atmosphere of fear and control where nobody wants to do their job, nobody wants to take responsibility. And at the end of the day, when the bottom comes crashing down, I hope y'all know y'all coming crashing down too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I appreciate the passion, but this is published on the channel too, so.
And there are children in the audience.
And there are children in the audience as well. All right. Go ahead.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, people. My name is Khalil Anthony. I'm part of the 55th District of Woodland Avenue. I feel like that y'all budget is really not understanding what y'all standing. I feel like y'all need resources for mental health. For myself, I've been have been in prison and was jailed, and I didn't get not one mental health resources or help, despite of me having autism spectrum disorder, bipolar, and depression. I feel like the city needs much help, as much as not only just as a black community, but a brown community, but all for Kansas City. There's so many people that are losing their lives, especially people who lost their lives during the massacre of the shooting of the Kansas City Parade. I feel like Kansas City need more protection, need more love and more caring. As a leader, I feel like I should be the example for every single one, because I've supported every single victim who was killed, especially people that was in a young age. And I feel like if you're gonna make change, make better changes, stop doing the same thing that we've been hearing over and over. And we need to do this by any means necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalil.
Hey y'all, my name is Dylan, and I'm a resident of KC in the 2nd District. I'll start by saying that a lot of y'all have heard about and actually collaborated on the vision that we're here to ask for today. And I appreciate the work that folks have already done to fight for an investment in care that really truly puts people first. I want to make it clear that we're here because, as you can see, the community wants something different, something that helps connect people to resources when they're in their most vulnerable place. I was just going to tell a quick story about what this kind of program would mean for someone like me, who is a person who comes from a level of privilege, actually. I spent 7 years managing a shop in Westport. We had a really good rapport with folks who were experiencing houselessness and living in the area. And in collaboration with our next door neighbors, the area behind our shop was known as a place where people could go. They could go to regroup, to get some water, just take the load off for a bit. Our next door neighbors actually would sometimes slide a few bucks to people to sweep their patio. One day, I arrived to work, and a man who I'd come to know through almost daily interactions was being detained for trespassing on a patio that he was being paid to sweep. The bar was closed, and he was pleading with officers to get them to understand that he was supposed to be there, but he wasn't given the benefit of the doubt. Of course, there are so many parts of this scenario that expose missing pieces in the way that we care for those most vulnerable in our city. But for me, this was a moment where I realized that there has to be a better way. We found out later that another local business owner in our kind of little triangle had actually called into 911, but truly regretted that the man was detained. That was not his intention. I want to be clear, this is not a matter of politics, it's a matter of care. Every concerned community member who only has a choice to dispatch the police to a situation right now would benefit from some sort of alternative option that would connect people to resources and care. We have an opportunity in KC to create these new methods of care and accountability, and I'm basically here to ask you to collaborate with the community to fully fund and implement a new alternative community response and pre-arrest diversion program that could be transformational for so many in Kansas City. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Okay, the next three are Susan Casella, Dr. Aaron Javadi, and Lex Hooper. Susan Casella. I knew I was going to mess that up. I apologize.
It's okay. Susan Casella.
Casella.
I am a resident of the Volker neighborhood, and I am here to comment on or urge you to include $1 million in the budget to the Parks Department for planting and maintaining trees. There's a recent study where they studied data from satellites and weather stations across the eastern United States. It shows that a vast reforestation that took place during the 20th century, from 1920 on, has had the effect, in part, of causing what is called a warming hole over the eastern United States. What that means is the temperatures are not rising there like they are across the rest of the country. Those temperatures have flatlined or even cooled. And so starting about 1920, people started moving into cities. But when the country was first settled, large expanses of the U.S. were deforested. In the 1920s, the U.S. government began reforesting the eastern U.S., and that has had this effect. It's also well known that neighborhoods where there is good tree cover are several degrees cooler. So let's help make KC an oasis. Funding the Parks Department request for $1 million for planting and maintaining trees is a small price to invest in a cooler future for Kansas City.
Thank you.
Honorable members of the City Council, I am Dr. Erin Summer Javadi, a chaplain resident of the 6th District and serving as the Community Engagement and Wellness Coordinator for the Justice and Dignity Center located at 31st and Paseo. This supports over 217 other organizations within Kansas City metropolitan area. The cause I bring before you today is deeply personal and yet urgent. My beloved cousin, Carrie Mae Blewett, was tragically murdered on these very streets at 51st Street in 2017, her case remaining unsolved to this day. This heartbreaking loss fuels my determination to advocate for justice, safety, and support for all members of our community. I urge the council to consider the pressing need to address human and sex trafficking in our city, as well as violent crime, given Kansas City's alarming vulnerability rates. By funding the Justice and Dignity Center, we can work toward protecting the most vulnerable, including women and children at high risk of exploitation and harm. I urge the importance of appropriating an annual budget funding of up to $800,000 supporting our 90-day crisis housing program, which is a crucial step in providing immediate assistance and a pathway to long-term safety for those in need. This crisis housing program will strategically place infrastructure projects in undisclosed locations across our metropolitan regions, offering a safe haven and vital resources to individuals seeking refuge from dangerous situations. By investing in this program, the City Council has the opportunity to combat human trafficking, prevent violence and abuse, and foster healthier, more secure communities. With Kansas City placed as the heartbeat of America, help our Justice and Dignity Center. I implore you, Council, to recognize the profound impact that funding the 90-day crisis housing program can have on the lives of our residents. Together, we can strive towards a future where justice, dignity, and safety prevail for all. Thank you for your attention and consideration in this urgent and critical matter.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lex Hooper. I live in the 6th District. I'm here to ask the council to pass and fully fund the pre-arrest diversion program in the health department. I used to work at a grocery store in Kansas City, and I loved how that job made me feel more connected to my community members. However, I did experience burnout because when you have that much interaction with your community, you start to see all the ways we're actually so disconnected from each other, and it can feel hopeless because we don't have the resources to solve conflicts or to truly care for each other. There were countless times that police were called to situations that were not safety emergencies, where the issue was related to mental health and/or houselessness, and all that happened was the dispersal of or the disappearing of those people. With the pre-arrest diversion program, we would have the resource that addresses root causes and ultimately provides the connection that we all seek. Thank you.
Thank you. The next three are Tim Dixon, Derek Buford, and Jeremiah Rowland. And I've been complaining a lot. I just want to say you all are doing a great job staying within your 2 minutes. And I think we have about 11 cards left, and if I understand right, about 2 online. So just to give you an idea of how many more public comments we have left. So go ahead.
Hello and good morning. My name is Tim Dixon. I'm a lifelong Kansas Citian, a resident of the 5th District, and a board member of the Marlboro Community Coalition. The Marlboro Community Coalition serves nearly 10,000 people within the boundaries of 89th Street to the south, Gregory to the north, Truce to the west, and 71 Highway to the east. There are 3 budget items of special interest to the coalition that I'd like to share with you today. Number one, we support the proposed budget increase of $70,000 for neighborhood CAN centers. While we are incredibly grateful for the $12,000 CAN center budget we received this year, we have a need to house a second community engagement specialist, social service partners, and others such as Health Department, Office of Violence Prevention. We are proud of what we accomplished out of the 750 square foot office that we currently rent, but we know that an additional substantial investment from the proposed $70,000 increase, our impact will be exponential. Number two, we ask for your support for the continuation of the Neighborhood Empowerment Grant Program. The coalition was a recipient of a $10,000 pilot grant. This grant is allowing us to advance our crime and violence prevention efforts by providing 100 homeowners increased security through the installation of smart video doorbells. Our neighborhood has been riddled with gun violence and, in my opinion, met with minor investigative support of law enforcement. Installing a network of resident-managed surveillance is a large step in holding those who promote violence in our community accountable. Number three, minor home repair funding expansion is critical to protecting our economically vulnerable homeowners from predatory home buyers. In 2023, the coalition was the face of the Housing Department's recruitment and intake process for $50,000 of city-provided repair funds at no cost to the city. We will continue to provide that service for as much minor home repair funding invested into Marlboro, ensuring that the city resources go farther. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is, hello everybody. My name is Derek Buford. I'm a leader with Decarcerate KC. I stay in the 3rd District. I took off work to be here. Every year you say this budget is a moral document, right? Like a statement on what our city values. My question is, why does it feel easier to get arrested and go to jail in this city than it is to get access to mental health resources and housing? In 2020, I was laid off and houseless. I slept between friends' couches, a lemon of a Subaru Forester that I bought with my COVID money so I could get a job, and also sleeping in a tent on the lawn right outside of City Hall. It was inside that tent where I felt like my brain broke. All I see these days is cops, non-white cops even, and jail construction. And all the while, every night in my neighborhood off Independence Avenue, where lines wrap around churches that give food and toothbrushes to folks who need it, the looming threat of incarceration is outside my window. I hear police sirens that makes it harder for me to sleep, which makes it harder for me to do my job as a line cook, which makes me money to pay my rent, and which keeps me housed. Incarceration is a public health issue. And not only should this program be fully funded, it should be housed in the Health Department and not in the Department of Corrections. I'm demanding that you give people in this city the care that they need instead of cages. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jeremiah Rowland. I have a poem. Excuse me if I'm too loud. The trees are crying as they die, but you can't hear them. They slaughtered great mighty boar gods, outwardly black goo ate his flesh. The princess talked to wolves a lot. The princess was raised by wolves and rots. They said, she's not your kind hero. The clear fur demons ate the scent of human. They said the smoke drew the boar gods out. They said the boar gods played games with their nose. Boar gods like lords of flies, cursed from inspired oblivion. Don't touch me. This is a sanctuary for hard-working women. Headscarf, bloody robes, face wine with linen. The men with no fingers lost in battle coming home. They said the demons are not to be trusted. They say the strangers, demons, tattoos keep his strangers strength in days. They said she grew up in the forest, related pearly white spears from her twin brothers. I am a wolf demon, she replied. I love the forest and I love the boar gods. They play pawns and fight odds. The boar gods on flat surface of the red and black share tusks like Elon. Man has invaded again, way more than Elons ever could. The boar gods sit boar god like ever could. Boar gods bark too much, not enough thought. I even seen a boar god stand up and lessen the face of chimera, split the cerebellum, locked in tomb, locked out of time. A crowd runs toward the altar and says, save those babies. Boar gods don't lift fingers. 2 actions, 2 characteristics, 2 lives, 2 spirits, 2 fire. Mama, this is tasty. Boar gods love good food and grapefruit. An apple was a snack's favorite deception. I watched birds make nests out of shoestrings. I watched dark clouds rise over football games to McGregor up fear. They said the boar gods don't like me. They said God's not here. Good, Guthin, wed, gothic, deuce, gaking, good. Like good morning, good day, good yearning, good job, good night, good year, good flight, good hair, good right, good tastic, good plastic, good is fake, good late, or good riddance. Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. All right, we have B, is it Coney, Ron Hunt, and Dominique Brooks? I'm sorry, I'm from Blue Hills.
Hey, good morning, City Council persons. Y'all do a good job. I like y'all. I like y'all. Always. I'm being real serious now. Mental health, that's a no-brainer. I remember, I think 1.5 years ago, I ran a red light. Not by accident, well, by accident. However, when I got the ticket, I looked on the ticket, they wanted me to pay a fine. So I looked on the ticket, I said, okay, let me see where my money is going to. And I saw everything on the ticket besides mental health. I said, well. So I called my city council persons, and my city council person sitting to my right. What? Why is it not on there, mental health? Okay, let me keep going. Okay, wasn't on there. Second, the bus service. You know what y'all should do? Just ride the bus. Just ride the bus. And you'll see a lot of things. Just take the time, and then when you do it, take a picture, put it on your social media, and let them know that you rode the bus. See, here's the thing, and I like y'all. They voted for y'all. We voted for y'all. And that means that you work for us, and we help you. We help you. So the bus service is a no-brainer. That should be a no-brainer, really. So you're smart. Y'all smart. Your assets are both for it. Prospect, we got to clean up Prospect. We have to clean up. And lastly, our police department. Now, rest in peace. What happened a couple of days is continued tragedy in our community. We have to work with our police department. That's critical because they put their life on the line for us. Nice to see you.
Thank you, good to see you.
Thank you so much. I like it. Keep doing a good job now. And they, Mike Shaw and all that, Decker, all of them do a good job. They do a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Hunt and Dominique Brooks.
Want me up there again?
Oh, I'm sorry, no. I just, no, I'm sorry. No. I just start reading. I don't pay attention. I do like you. I'm going to give you 2 more minutes. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is Dominique Brooks. While I do not live on this side of Kansas City, I work in mental health and social services on this side of Kansas City. I am also the daughter of a transit driver in Kansas City and also the daughter of a behavioral mental health nurse at University Health. So what happens in Kansas City affects my family and my work. I'm also a grad student of criminology and criminal justice here at UMKC. And my dad, for 15 years, was a special needs bus driver. He had moved to transit 5 years ago, and one of his former students was having an autistic breakdown, and instead of getting help, they called KCPD on him. And my dad, who had known this young man since he was 5 years old, had to convince KCPD to not arrest him. My mother comes home and is tired because she wants to help the people of Kansas City, and there are so many people who use University Health as just a way to sleep. And working in mental health and social services, in many agencies, and have collaborated with many agencies in this community, so many people in this field want more. We want the ability to do our jobs. We want the ability to not feel burnout. And in my academic research, things that I have looked up, the things that happen in Kansas City are not only cited in the programs of other states, but have been seen as a foundation for programs in other countries. So the decisions that are made today in these walls will not only affect Kansas City, not only affect the United States, but will affect the rest of the world.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. I was going to call Ron Hunt again, but I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Did you say B. Carey or B.
Yes, yes. Oh, Carrie, I see it now, yes.
That's right.
I need to wear my glasses all the time, I think.
And I need to take mine off, so. Good morning, I'm Bill Carey with the Blue Hills Neighborhood Association and the Litterbug Helpers, which are both neighborhood-based 501c3 nonprofits working in the urban core. There's quite a few things to consider today based on the wonderful turnout of our fellow concerned volunteer Kansas Cityans, all who seem to have the goal of making Kansas City better. And I hope that your work is infused with the energy and the passion of all those present as you draw upon your own and the wisdom of councils past in considering each of our concerns. Let's work together to make generational change with the dollars and time and effort that we invest. Clean and safe neighborhoods is good public health, and it's good mental health. And let's make this the baseline. I mean, it can't be disputed that a safe and clean neighborhood is an investable one, and it makes an investable city. And collectively, it can heal the traumas and disparities of the past. It can bring parity and respect and dignity. Neighborhood empowerment, as it was mentioned earlier, in its infancy, again, produced 26 neighborhoods with funding through the conscientious efforts of the dedicated city staff and neighborhood leaders. So it's imperative to continue this work of providing agency to all citizens through outreach and other means. Imagine safety when an informed citizen is empowered to act and react and make valuable use and direct connection to the already existing city resources, be it free buses, city blue bags, CPTED for a safer home, and more. This means more and sustained funding for neighborhoods with its efforts for safety, litter and dumping in education and outreach. It also means making that generational effort by educating and employing our youth, imbuing life strategies for conflict resolutions other than deadly ones, and this along with civic responsibility. So let us fund and build upon our Summer Youth Enjoy program and enlist the help of the youth and the entire city together with these efforts. Many of the youth are already here advocating today. So let's educate and empower these and all future leaders of Kansas City with the best and most equitable practices. Again, generational changes to solve many of the problems created inequality and communal anxiety and of safety at all take time, investment, and the wisdom you as elected and collective body have already displayed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next three are Shabazz, Johnny Waller Jr., and Jade Williams.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. My name is Shabazz. I'm a leader with Decarcerate KC, and I'm from the 3rd District. I'm here today to ask you all, just like my comrades have all mentioned before me, to fund a pre-arrest diversion program, and to also provide a resource hotline for the people. When I first heard that you guys were suggesting of putting the pre-arrest diversion program or center within the jail, that's a super contradiction, because how are we diverting people from the jail if they gotta go to the jail to get the treatment? So that's silly. And then another thing is, I was actually employed by the city of Kansas City through the corrections department for 30 days. I was a corrections officer. I know that's a contradiction. But I felt like I could probably get amongst those brothers and sisters that were on staff and maybe be an example to them, because they act just like the pigs. Pigs are no good choice for public health, public safety, mental health, anything like that. I saw corrections officers demeaning people, escalating psychosis that people may have been going through. It's super under-resourced. I see these people in these paper outfits, and then if their shoes, let's say, get dirtied or torn up or bloodied, you know, when they got arrested, they don't have shoes. And then the department has like these little slippers of foam. We don't even have those. So every day, people are like, can I get some shoes? Can I get a blanket? It was cold. It's hotter now, but it was blistering cold, and these people are walking barefoot, getting inside the transport, being taken to Vernon County, Johnson County, being brought back to Kansas City for trial. And I just think that's stupid. So, free Palestine.
Thank you.
How y'all doing? My name is Johnny Waller Jr. And yeah, I'd like to say, first off, I appreciate all the work that you've done, especially all the work that you've done with me lately. And so I'd like to thank you for that. And so, as many of you know, I represent multiple organizations, and I'm not going to give one district. I work with lots of people. I have an office at GIFT. I have an office at Uncornered. I'm on Synergy Services Board. I ran an expungement clinic at UMKC, and I do a host of other things. And so, but today, as a former Alternatives to Incarceration Commissioner and representing Decarcerate KC, I'm here to talk about the pre-arrest diversion program. As many of you know, I was arrested 36 times. I've been on trial 5 times in 2 different states, and I got 5 years in prison. Even after I went to Rockhurst and received my 3rd degree, my master's degree, I still had problems getting housing. And so for me, this is very personal. We have a problem in this country. There are approximately 1.8 million people with a criminal record in the state of Missouri. There are 46,000 collateral consequences to someone who has a felony conviction. All we do is continually, perpetually punish people. We place them in boxes and cages and give them labels and never really give them a chance to successfully reintegrate back into society. Councilman Duncan was right this morning. We invest in what we believe in, and so do we really believe in our people? Do you believe in people like me and the people that I represent? I'm out just like the police. I represent Uncornered as well. We deal with people who are directly committing violence, and we get those people housing, we offer them services. And so when people know, they don't have to call the police, they call us and we come out. And so this isn't some unprecedented thing that's happening, and I really believe that the city should do something. We need to reimagine what safety looks like. Safety isn't mass incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello there. My name is Jade. I'm uplifting and asking for funding for pre-arrest diversion services, including a 311 community response program that would divert people to resources that actually care to help people. If we care for people, if we care for our community, if we care for Kansas City, we will be proactive. Police interactions are reactive responses. In what ways has KCPD prevented violence and crime and not perpetuated it? In what ways is KCPD equipped to handle mental health crises? It's interesting that KCPD is funded under the public safety term. I've never felt safe by KCPD. The carceral system punishes the most vulnerable members of our communities that are disproportionately Black, brown, disabled, poor, unhoused. That ain't right. Let your actions align with your words. Invest in people, invest in community care, not in corruption, not in capital, not in abuse. Fund reach. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have 5 cards left. I know I can count, they brought me some more, so if you were counting and trying to keep me honest, we had some more. So I'm gonna call each of the 5 names, and then I believe we have at least 2 online. Chris Lopez, Aiden Allen, Lorraine Elmore, Alexandria Paul, and Lamar Vickers. I will start with Chris Lopez.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Chris Lopez, and I'm a leader with Decarcerate KC. I reside in the 4th District. I'm here to talk to you guys about just my support and advocacy for this pre-arrest and diversion program. Currently, we have this opportunity to create a program that is revolutionary, a program that specifically targets the health crisis we are undergoing. This is not a jail issue. This is a health crisis. We will tackle mental health, substance abuse, behavioral issues. This is what we are here to do today. We are here to create and reimagine a new way of life. We are here alongside our brothers and sisters with Sunrise Movement to create a better Kansas City. What side will you be on? Will we create a city that cares for its people, or will we be a city that continuously jails them? Are we going to be a city that funds buses? Or are we going to be a city that throws them away? We have the opportunity to reimagine Kansas City, build a better place for our family, for our friends, for the next generation, for the air we breathe, for the water we drink, for the brothers and sisters we love that are currently in jail. We have a duty to reimagine Kansas City and create a place that we can call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Aiden Allen.
Hi, my name is Aiden Allen. I'm a leader with Stand Up KC, and today I'll actually be reading a testimony on behalf of one of our other leaders, Beyond. Hi, my name is Beyond Gatson. I am a 19-year-old organizer with Real Justice Network and Sunrise Movement Kansas City. I'm a student living on the east side of Kansas City with my 2 disabled parents and an 11-year-old sibling. It takes the bus 1 hour and 10 minutes to get from my house to City Hall. It only takes 10 minutes by car. The Better Buses for KC campaign would increase the number of bus lines and the frequency of these stops. Imagine what this time saved could mean for my family and so many other bus riders across the city. As a bus rider and a person with friends and family who depend on buses to accomplish everyday tasks like grocery shopping, going to school, work, and more, I know that this will improve the lives of all bus riders. Many people struggle every day trying to manage their lives around the public transportation schedule. They have to wake up very early to get their children ready for school. After dropping their kids off, they have to wait for 30 minutes to an hour for another bus to get to work and are sometimes still late no matter the effort they make to be on time. After work, the cycle resumes. They get on the bus to pick up their kids, wait another 30 minutes for the next bus, and may still spend an additional hour getting home if they have to stop by the grocery store. The cost to do these everyday tasks is already high, but the time it takes to just do life costs far more than it ever should. Furthermore, this adds financial strain to families that are already under a great deal of burden, having the city council invest into our bus system to fully fund bus services, zero fare, and expand frequent bus lines in our city would help the most impacted people in Kansas City community. I urge you to please support the Better Buses for KC campaign. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexandria. I'm a resident of the historic Northeast. I go by they, them pronouns. I'm in the 3rd District. I'm bus dependent, and I'm a leader with Sunrise KC, and I'm in camaraderie with Decarcerate KC, KC Transformations, and the Kansas City Defender. And I want to live with dignity. As a queer Black person, it's difficult for me to live in a way of care for my community and in a way that doesn't harm the planet. The system here, despite the fact that it doesn't need to, emphasizes me and all KC citizens to not care about those things. Onslaughts of state and anti-queer and trans legislation make sure that me and my peers can't live as our authentic selves. The car-centric design and policy choices here, such as not fully funding buses, makes it dangerous and uncomfortable for me to give up my car, and even though it's a great choice for my community's and the planet's health. I walk in neighborhoods ravaged by capitalism, state-sponsored harm, and a lack of resources. The result is increased gun violence. People around me are homeless, sick, hungry, pushed to the edge, and often incarcerated. To me, it's obvious that this city isn't working enough for way too many people. So we, the people, are coming here to tell you what we need. Sunrise needs you to fully fund buses and get our transit together. KC Transformations and trans people need you to defend and fund trans lives. And Decarcerate KC wants an alternative to policing and wants the REACH program to be implemented. Listen to what we need, please, and thank you.
Thank you, Alexandria.
Hello, my name is Lorraine Elmore, and I'm a resident of the 6th Ward. I'm here to support the $1 million budget to increase our tree canopy. I just want to say, today is March 2nd, and it's 75 degrees outside. I'm not going to say the climate is changing, the climate has changed, and a strong tree canopy is one way to offset these changes. I also want to say we need to increase our canopy, but we also need to preserve the existing canopy, and I'm challenging the idea that when developers say they'll cut down a tree, they'll plant a new one. Well, everyone knows a 12-inch sapling isn't going to have the offsetting effects of a 20-year-old tree. So I urge you to support the budget, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Vickers, bring us home.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Lamar Vickers, CEO of KCOGs, here to hopefully get someone in this group to champion this cause. We're saying to the city of Kansas City, we want to get engaged with the at-risk population that's out here. What we're asking of you is, we want to get the buildings, the parks that needed for us to do sports, citywide sports, Apollo night, hot summer nights, school suspension programs, mentor programs. That's for the 18 and under. For the 18 and over, we want to we're ready to implement our job training program that I humbly say was implanted in me by Alex Harris. We have a sales program for those that don't want to work. We have the housing program that we want to use as the vehicle to teach our training program. We have all this in place right now. And I'm saying to you that we are coming to you not asking for money. We saying just give us the buildings. I left a meeting this morning. I told them, I said, when I go in here, I'm telling them, I'm asking them this morning to give us the buildings, and we gonna go get the money. We also have, I'm a promoter from way back, and I have April the 26th at the Music Hall. We want to use the entertainment business as our funding mechanism. I want to start doing monthly talent shows where we can generate the money to do this. We're not asking you for the money. We're just asking you for the buildings in order for us to be able to operate. We're asking for a building for us to be able to go and rehab and have a headquarters. We don't have a headquarters. We asking you that if you will entrust in us the ability to outreach to this community, and all we asking you for is a start. We're not asking for the buildings every year, yes sir. And I'm saying to you, give us the buildings the first year. We'll come back and be renters and tenants from here forever.
Thank you. All right, we will move to our online testimony. I believe we have, do we still have two? Robert Martin and Brandon Wright.
You have Stacy Kenyon.
Okay. Ms. Kenyon, if you are on, please unmute yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Good morning. First, I want to say thank you for allowing us to attend in person and hybrid. It's wonderful to be able to listen to this while being at home and be part of the process from home. I appreciate what everybody else has said, and thank you for everybody who's talked about your topics. I want to talk about something that's a little it's very easily overlooked. Formerly, the curbs in the city were part of the revolving public improvement fund, and since the GO bonds have taken over for doing sidewalks, the curbs have been omitted from the budget. I learned this while trying to help some neighbors in my neighborhood who have curbs that are about 3/4 of an inch high, causing flooding in their yard. I went to the city, talked to Public Works, and found out that there is no budget for the curbs and that we are instructed to go to PIAC. PIAC, as you know, it funds special projects, things like playgrounds, and it seems a little silly to take money from playgrounds and other matters for something as straightforward and obvious as curbs. So I have talked to Public Works. I found out that currently there's just no budget line for it. And I encourage you to consider that as you move forward with working through GO bonds, maybe you don't get to it this year, but I advise you to please look into making that a priority in coming years. We have curbs that are decades old, and they're not going to get taken care of if there's no line in the budget for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, there are no more hands online.
All right, we have one more. Doug Langner? Oh.
Thank you, council members. Doug Langner, I'm a resident of 4th District, just a few blocks from here downtown. First, I just want to thank the city. I think you've done a great job of, especially in the urban areas, create more walkable spaces for people that are safer, especially for people in needs. And so continue that, and I really appreciate that effort. As someone who's also not only a resident of 4th District, I'm also the executive director of Hope Faith, and so I just want to say one other thing. I know a lot of people are here for buses. There's no greater cost savings for some of our working class citizens than free bus fare. So I think it creates healthier communities, safer communities, and people that can get to work. And so I hope we invest in that. I also think a couple years ago, rightfully so, we spent $28 million to build one animal shelter. Can we not invest at least that much into our houseless citizens, neighbors, and friends? And so maybe that's not something that happens year one, but I would love to see a plan that would at least invest that into our citizens that are houseless. So thank you all. I know there's a lot of things, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. I believe that's all the public testimony we have. I just want to thank you all for coming out today. By my count, we had almost 50 people testifying. That is considerably more than we had last Saturday. We have another opportunity on Monday evening to testify, and this is immensely helpful as we make decisions based upon the budget, to hear from the public on what is important to them. And so again, I just say thank you for being here, being part of this, and we'll remind you again to have this passion, have this level of involvement when it comes to the fall and we work on the citywide business plan as well. As we wrap up, I want to give my colleagues an opportunity to go around the room and provide any closing comments. And I will start again with my esteemed colleague from the 1st District.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for coming. I mean, I heard some great, interesting ways that we could look at for funding. I really appreciated the mental health issues. I think we all know up here that that is a major issue for us. The state and the federal government have stopped funding a lot of the institutions, so there's a lot of people out there that need help, and we know we're kind of the last, option for people. So I know that our Councilman Rhea is working with talking about the jail, and I think we all want a jail, but we also know that we want a lot of mental health beds for people, not so much as many jail beds. So thank you for that input and many of the other things we heard out here today. Thank you.
Lindsay French, 2nd District at large. I missed introductions in the beginning, so I am here and listening. I just wanted to thank you all for taking time out of your Saturday, your busy Saturdays. You have a lot going on in your lives, and for you to really come and be passionate and speak about this and really have your involvement within the city and within this process. I want you to know that I'm here and I'm listening. I'm taking notes. Like Councilman O'Neill said, a lot was said today, especially for the importance of the bus service, our climate, being good stewards of our climate, being good stewards of our citizens, really quality of life was a big topic today that encompasses a lot of what you guys were saying was quality of life, and mental health as well. Mental health is extremely important. It is something that is extremely important to us as a council as a whole, and those are in a lot of conversations moving forward through our policy and through our budget. So I just want to thank you all for being here today.
Thank you all again for being here. This is an incredible turnout, and it's important that we hear what your priorities are as we're trying to make pretty tough decisions about the budget. One thing that I'm particularly interested in is the bus service. So just over the course of the last several weeks, there's a lot of conflicting information, there's a lot of conflicting numbers, there's a lot of pros and cons, and I think we would do ourselves a service by having more of those conversations transparently, so that we can really get to the bottom of what is going on and what is the appropriate path forward. I too think we need to get away from finger pointing and just figure out what's going on. And so I will tell you personally that the bus was my transportation. It was my first source of freedom as a 14-year-old girl, riding a bus to the landing to work at Topsy's, going to the zoo, going to Worlds of Fun. It was how I got around and had my sense of control over my own life, with no supervisors around except the bus driver. The bus driver was the supervisor. And so I'm really interested in the topic and figuring out what's the appropriate thing to do. I know it'll be a hard discussion. I think to a business session coming soon, we're going to have ATA on hand to give us a presentation about what's going on. I recently met with the Bus Drivers Union with some other council colleagues and got some really fascinating information on that front. So I'm looking forward to putting all of that together as we further deliberate to figure out how to tackle this problem. And I think you all are on my calendar coming up pretty soon too, so looking forward to your point of view as well. So thanks again. I know there are many issues here, but I did want to point out the bus service is one that I see loud and clear. So thank you again.
Yeah, I want to thank you all for coming out this morning and into this afternoon. It's always important for us to hear from folks who are passionate about things that we can directly impact by voting and having conversation among ourselves. You know, I do want to take a moment to discuss the pre-arrest diversion because, you know, as Councilman O'Neill pointed out, we've had the Commission for Detention and Rehabilitation Center for a couple months now, and you know, we've been very clear in those conversations that it's one thing to talk about building a facility, it's another thing to talk about what we're going to do to ensure that facility is right-sized and that we are putting everything in place we possibly can to ensure that such a facility is a place of absolute last resort. And I could say as a prosecutor for 8 years, I know we were the place of last resort, and it was frustrating that there were not many other off-ramps and opportunities for folks before they came to that point. And now we have an opportunity to discuss that and make actual changes about how we do that. So I'm excited to continue talking about the pre-arrest diversion program. It's a common sense approach to public safety. And as I've said before, I think a city's public safety strategy should be a portfolio with different approaches, and this is something we've never done in Kansas City before, and I think we're looking at some models that work pretty well, so I'm excited to continue that conversation.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today as well. I know taking time out of your busy Saturday schedule is sometimes time-consuming, but I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate your passion. I appreciate you coming out and sharing your concerns with us as a council during this budget times. As everyone knows, I mean, there's always more problems and more issues than there is money to go around. And I appreciate the bus issue. I know that that's an issue. I know that I've got some of you on my schedule in order to meet with you as well to hear about those concerns. I've met with the bus people, the union, as well as KCATA. I think that all city-funded departments that we fund need to have an audit done at some point in time. And I think that that ought to be done, if we haven't done that in some time, to KCATA. I know mental health is a concern. I think that that is something that we have not really talked about and delved into the way that we should probably as a city, and I hope that we do that going forward as a city. So I look forward to this budget. This is my first budget. I'm learning a lot, listening to everybody and trying to make the best decisions as I possibly can to make sure that we fund the things that are important to the citizens of Kansas City. So hopefully we won't let you down. Thank you all for coming out again.
Good morning, everybody. Just to reiterate, thank you all for making this a priority today. I got a list of about 6 action items. You saw me get up and walk and talk to folks. I'm already trying to put some things into motion today. But one of the things I would like to convey is, you know, as appreciative as we are of you all engaging today, I just really want to encourage you all to engage when we start the citywide business plan, because I think many individuals in the public don't necessarily understand that this budget process actually starts in the summer. And I had an opportunity to speak to a group this week, and after the first session, and one of the comments they said is, well, it seems like you all, it's already decided what you all want to do. The budget is pretty much already established. And in a lot of ways, that's somewhat true. While definitely this council has tough decisions that we will make over the coming weeks, the reality is that this budget was framed back when the public engaged in the citywide business plan, because that establishes the priorities. And unfortunately, we only had 25 people show up. We had meetings in every district, but we only had 25 people actually show up in person, a total of 70 people that actually engaged either by submitting information online. So those 70 people that showed up really framed what this budget is today. So I just want to encourage you all to engage in this when we start in the next budget cycle as well, to make sure that your priorities can get in there early and first, because it does make it very difficult for us as council members to try to advocate and put dollars in, because there are a lot of priorities. So I just want to, while definitely, I know we're all listening, and we will do our best to try to negotiate through this process. It'll make it so much easier if we can get your priorities in early. And so as was mentioned earlier by our finance staff, as well as even some of the testimony, talked about the budget shortfalls that we will be anticipating. So the city has moved to priority-based budgeting, and the beauty of that is that the top priorities will be based upon what the citizens want. And so we are putting more of an emphasis on the information that we receive in our budget citywide business plan process. So I hope that you all online, as well as here, those here today, are able to participate in that process. I will encourage you also to sign up for the newsletters, and you can get to that by kcmo.gov, so that there's a whole page of, if you put in the search bar newsletters, you can access the city newsletters that way, so that you know when those meetings come up. We are trying to do a better job of trying to engage with the public, because we want to hear your voice. We want to hear as many voices as we can, as it helps us to frame the work that we're doing. A couple of people made some comments that I want to have some follow-up with. I don't know if they're still in the room, but the person that spoke about having worked for the city for 30 days, if that person is still in the room, okay. If I could follow up with you, I didn't quite understand everything you said, and I think you said some things that I want to try to work on. And then also, there was a gentleman that talked about the 353 and the set-aside. Is he? Okay, I'd like to follow up more with you about that. And then just want to thank all of the neighborhood folks that have come out, especially my 5th District folks that were here. Thank you so much. We appreciate your engagement, and if you have more to say, we will see you Monday night. Thank you.
Again, I want to reiterate the gratitude that some of my colleagues have expressed to all of you who showed up and showed out today. Powerful, powerful testimonies. Powerful testimonies. Thank you for showing up, for being vulnerable. I said it this morning, I'll say it again, right? The city manager said it. The budget's a moral document. We fund what we value. We should fund our people. We should fund our buses. We should fund care over punishment. That's why I ran for office. That's why I'm here today. Your organizing is powerful. It moves. It moves this body. Don't quit.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Well, that concludes our second public budget meeting. Again, we will be at Northland Neighborhoods on Monday night at 6 o'clock. Okay, 6 o'clock. Thank you all so much for being here.